you would book for a brow treatment and you would go in and you as the service provider would do what they want, what they need, whether it's like a waxing, a
Full
tinting,
meal consultation. What are we
anything.
doing
Yeah,
today? But you
I love
have the
that.
time booked instead of
Mhm.
upselling.
Welcome to Beauty Babble. Today's episode is all about brows. I'm very excited for this one because I had a unibrow growing up. So brows are close and dear to my heart.
Yes. Well, browse is a lot more than what I think we realize, and actually I shouldn't say that now. I mean, if you look at, social medias and stuff, like you look at the brows, I mean, people are spending a lot of money to have that perfect brow that they feel is it, right? But yeah, this came across in some of the research I was doing. And for our listeners, did you know that there's still free resources online? And this one is Skin Inc. It's a great. I used to always subscribe to the actual hard magazine, like it came and delivered. I'd be so excited for it because it just talked about everything. And so you can have this online and look for yourself. You can see they give tips, ideas, they talk business, they talk customer service, they interview other people in the industry. It's actually a great reference. And it came across this one about brows and some of the little subtle things about it, of how if you don't offer brow services, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you have to do like waxing and things like that. Maybe that's not your jam in this industry, and that's okay. But something so simple to brows can be done with their natural brows. But how do you kind of begin with it? So I thought, as we chatted, we thought this would be an interesting episode to kind of, well, what about the brows?
Mhm.
How do we even start? What do we look for? What do you think? You know,
And it is timely because I don't know anyone who can go through their feed and not see that fluffy brow or, you know,
right?
but I do remember when I was doing services, I would have people who would just come in for brow wax almost to test. That would be like the first thing they would do. And it always blew my mind because, like, why are you testing with your brows?
Yeah,
Now I think it's a totally different environment, though. I don't think people do that anymore. They don't come to test with their brows to see, if they want to see you or not. That is really kind of like a whole treatment on its own.
right. Yeah, for sure. I think too that if okay, for there's two ways we can kind of talk about today. One is how do you even bring brows into your business or your service offering, or you're in this industry right now and you are offering brow services. And typically, let's go to the classic brow waxing shaping. It's an in and out. We've been trained that that's a fast service. You can get them in and out and move on type of thing. But
15
I
minutes
think
we used to be booked.
how long?
15.
Exactly, right? So if you could bang out, four people in that time frame, right? And I get it. I really do understand that. I think though we're missing a little something, like you said, there is people that just came in for the brow wax, and if we want to honor that service and really hone in on, what do your clients want? Like, what are you servicing here? Are you just in and out, quick, go, 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 because you're amazing and that's great. But I think a lot of people are getting this industry because of that holistic side of it. That I want to serve. I'm so passionate about this. I want to give. I want to, how do you put that into a brow wax when it hurts and you're red and it could go wrong, like there's a lot of factors to it, or the client's disappointed, so I think there's a few things that we can share to our viewers of maybe one, what are the things you should consider before starting, or maybe you're in it and you kind of forgot about it because you've been doing it for so long. So it is about the client. It's your client's style. You hopefully will know their likes and dislikes. I used to show pictures, I'd have, well, here's some pictures, and not of clients, of models or anything. So what are you looking for? What do you think works? And then I'd reference their natural shape. It's like hair, right? I can't say, well, I really want my hair to be like J Lo's hair. Look at my hair. I can't. It's not going to happen. She goes, no. And I do actually tease my hairstylist. Today I want to be J Lo when I'm done. So, anyways, I mean, there's a little truth in it, but nice and gentle. But then explaining their natural brow shape to their face shape and their eye positioning. I mean, it is a technique. There's a reason why brow mapping was created, so it doesn't go wrong. But, and I think the other side of that too is like, that's teaching your client
Mhm.
as well to recognize what they, what would be appealing to them. So then, helping them to do a fuller brow for that night out. How do they apply the cosmetic side of it? Maybe they don't want it to be a permanent thing, they just want a temporary thing to spruce it up. So, that special event. So helping them understand, so taking that time and showing them the difference, I think is a big part that people forget is I always did one side first and then show them so they could see the difference of the two. I mean,
Oh,
now you could take pictures if your clients allow you to do it, but I think when you do one side versus the other, it really shows. But if you give them a side by side view of their brows, I mean, technology has come a long way. So that's another way you could do it and keep it because that really helps them to see the differences of what you do. It's really an art. I
yeah.
mean, it's an art and it's a technique that not everyone can master, but you can practice it. And if
Mhm.
you do we'll call it the science behind the shaping, then you should never go wrong. And you'll always deliver that perfect brow for that client, right?
I think it's
Like,
important when you're doing that, like the educating part, the consultation part of it. I used to always have clients who are like, "Oh, I just want to clean up." What does that mean to you? Right? Like, what is it you really want? Do you want me to do this? I usually like do prodding questions like, do you
yeah,
mean this? Do you?
yeah.
And
Hand them a mirror
yeah.
and say, show me what you mean. It's
And then
so
asking
crucial.
what you don't like. What don't you like about brows?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes they don't know what they want, but they know what they don't want. A lot of
Is it
times we all do. We know what we don't want. And
exactly?
that
Yeah.
incorporating that in, so knowing what to avoid and then being in touch with reality as well is important because I have had clients who've come in with a picture, and this was before I did microblading and there was the henna and all that. And I was just like, how do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Like, it's not your brow shape. Like,
Yeah.
now I
Right.
can, but I couldn't then.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like you said, I mean, you could take it from tweezing, be painful, long period of time, but that's okay too. You do the waxing, or like you said, microblading or PMU, that semi-permanent tattooing, which, is great and it'll last a few years, which is good too, because the other thing too that people in this industry remember that as we age, and I can reference this now, your brows get less and less, and I knew that. And I used to talk my clients out when they were young, wanting the thin brow. I said, oh, let's not do it because, eventually, it will thin out a little bit. And then you're not going to have much, especially if you take it all off. Because back in when was that? Was that the 60s where they used to take it all off and then pencil it in?
Oh,
I can't remember. So I learned from clients that went through all that. Now they're older and they have
mm,
no brows at all. So thank God for
yeah,
PMU and microblading, right? For them, then
yeah.
they can have something back. But to keep in mind as you get older, they do thin, and just remind that of your clients too. You don't want to encourage that. I never really wore a thin brow, but I can tell you that mine thinned out quite a bit in the last few years as I'm getting older. It's just
I was a
part of the
I was a
journey.
teenager in the 90s. You should have seen how thin my brows are. Anyone who knows me knows I have, like I said, I kicked it off with I had a unibrow. Like I have the thickest brows. The work I put into making those things so thin. It was amazing.
I remember a picture, my graduation picture from high school. I said, "Oh my God, look at all my brow. I've got a lot of brow happening there." I don't now. It's completely different. But back to this, like if you have that client, typically when they're brow waxing, if they're not doing anything else, then they're probably on that more natural level, which is totally fine. But there's still things you can offer to them, like brow gels are really nice. They'll help define the brow a little more. It's really easy for them. Again, show them how to use it. I see the difference on some people I know when they use it, when they don't, because I've asked them, please tell me. Can I just pick on you for a little while? And I'm going to try to guess when you're not using it. Cause I mean, oh my God, your brows are beautiful and they're so natural with brow gel. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. But anyway, so, you can do that. You can also offer like the hennas or the tints after. It just really helps to define the brows. Just be mindful of the pigment you're choosing. Again, is it what's the word I'm looking for? Compatible to the person is it going to help them or is it going to stand out? I remember a client of mine coming in. She was blonde and blue-eyed. She phoned me. She goes, "I need your help." I said, "What's going on?" And she goes, "Just can I come in? Stop in, no problem. This time to this time's good." She comes in and I saw her come in. She just had black eyebrows, like black, dark black. And I tried not to, change my face at all because I had no idea why she's coming. I'm like, oh my God, they look like duct tape across it's awful. And she goes, "I just got my brows done. They were practicing. I was a model." I said, "Oh, okay. What was it? Tint? Okay, it'll come out. It's going to wash out. It will come out. Don't
Oh,
worry."
it was tint, thank goodness.
It was just tint. It was a long time ago. There was not a lot of, permanent makeup
Oh,
happening,
good.
right? But anyways, and that's why I said it'll wash out. But again, because the person doing the service, that's what they did for themselves. So they gave the same thing.
Mhm.
I love my brows, so this is what I do. It was one of those situations. Like, no, no, no. This is not about you and your, especially brows. Brows is like hair, right? You have to really focus on the person that you're have in front of you. Anyway, so luckily it did. And then, I did say, "Well, I do this service, right? Why didn't you come to, oh, but you're so busy." I said, "Don't ever hesitate." Like, and that's when you get really busy, that's the downfall. Clients want a last minute thing and they don't think they can get in. And that was a business strategy I had to change. I went, okay, I got to make sure they know to call me regardless. And then I'd fit them in. I would find a way.
Yeah.
You betcha I would. But anyway, so the other side of that is like, can you have like a bundle brow service? Like make it fun and unique and like a true service to the brows when they come out and say, "Oh my God, like who doesn't love leaving their hairstylist?"
Mhm.
I think probably 99% of the time it's good, right? And you want that feeling when you leave. And I think brows do that, as simple as eyebrows are. It's that wow factor that I've always talked about. Brow service is another one, right? How do you wow them to say, "Oh my God, I just feel amazing now?" Transformation of the brows is huge on people's faces and for
Well,
themselves. It just,
it's a defining feature of your face.
yeah,
It's a big that wow factor is there for sure. I like the idea of bundling. So then in that case, you would book for a brow treatment and you would go in and you as the service provider would do what they want, what they need, whether it's like a waxing, a
the full
tinting,
meal consultation. What are we
anything.
doing
Yeah,
today? But you
I love
have the
that.
time booked instead of
Mhm.
upselling. Well, you know
Yeah,
that, Doreen. And if you've been listening to this, you guys know I'm not a fan of upselling.
no.
No one wants to be upsold to anything because it's not genuine.
Yeah.
It's just not genuine and you're not servicing. But I think if it's part of it and that could, allow the time, brow shaping can take, I mean, there's times I've spent 45 minutes on someone for
Mhm.
their eyebrow, right? And that was just the shaping and getting it ready and the brow mapping. And then I'm like, boom, 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 done. But I think if you allow the time, of course, you have to allow the cost of your time for sure. Are
Yeah.
you going to do, a brow lamination? Are you going to do like what would look good on this person? You sit down and you explain for your eyebrows. I think this, and this would be great. Just like skincare service, right? Just like your hairstylist says, "What are we doing today?" Hopefully
Mhm.
they say that to you. I mean, I sit down. She's just being courteous to me to ask me because I just do your thing. I know, do your thing. You're not going to look me crazy, right? She's known me for a long time. But I think if you're looking to up your ante in this industry, what will make you unique? Brow service bundling idea, like call it like a treatment. I
Mhm.
think it's amazing. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. It also saves you time. So you think about, and your client's time, I think is essential to understand. So you come in, you do a brow wax, and okay, you're good, and you're booked, right? You're booked, bang, 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 got people behind you. And you say, "You know what would look really good on you is the brow lamination and a tint. That'd look really good. But I don't have time for you. Let's rebook that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
have the offering there, and maybe you can call it brow waxing or your brow treatment, and just explain in your description the difference of the two. So if someone wants to just do a brow wax, good. But having that option there already, that could be something. And some people, like you said, I had clients that they came in just for a brow. That's what they could do for their time and financially,
Mhm.
which is fine. That's what interested them most. That was the treat to them to have their brows done. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it, right?
Your first appointment with that client is going to be your longest, right? Like to have that space so that, because as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, if I'm booking an hour or 45 minutes for an eyebrow, what if they come in and they just want their brows waxed? Now I have all this free time and I can't charge the same price for,
Correct.
so, right? So, I think having that space and having it be your first consultation, you weave that in there as well. So it's a little bit more because you're doing a
Mhm.
consultation, you're doing all of that stuff. I think that can offset it. And then you start to know your client and you can book them accordingly. Oh, they always do this or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a consultation is always necessary, even if it's not, even if they're just coming in for a brow wax. We always allowed extra time the first time that client came in. They were a first time. It was essential that the front person, the
Hmm.
receptionist or guest greeter or whatever guest services, would understand that. Have you been here before? Have you had your brows waxed before? Ever shaped in any way?
Hmm.
So then I always said you need to give that extra time,
Yeah. Not
right?
every
It didn't.
place does that though. Just,
I know. I
brows are
know.
usually like a quick in and
It
out. And
was.
it's like, if you have 15 minutes, I could have a 15-minute consultation. Like that's not enough time to do
Yeah.
all of it. So if you
Mhm.
are in control of your own time and schedule, that is definitely something to
And
do.
if
Have
you're an
that
owner,
flexibility.
you're an owner listening to this right now, and you never realize, because of course you're looking at financially how many services need to go through that room in a day or per hour or however you figure that out. That's okay. I understand that you have to run a business, you have overhead, it's expensive. I get it. I completely understand that side. But that first meeting is setting everything up for success.
Yeah.
If you treat it as an in and out service, then they'll just bounce around. Those are
Yeah.
the clients that you're going to get, and they won't commit to you. That's my take on it. But when you're there to care and or whatever it may be, we've done it before. It's like, you know what? You need a brow tint today, and they forgot to add it on. Oh, I didn't even think, I just wanted my brows done, and I assume, and the front desk just thought that's why they look at the history of the
Hmm.
client. You pop it up. Oh, Jareen, you've been here before. Let me just pull you up. So then you can see. And then that's when you offer and explain, and that saves you any disappointment created for your client.
Yeah.
It's all in the details. I'll call that the details of
Well,
everything.
we talk about this a lot, but it's building relationships and connection with your clients and not treating them like that in and out, because that's where the long-term relationship comes into play when they feel that they're being taken care of and it's more connected service than just a quick
Well,
eyebrow
there's
wax.
there are some people who think that they're in this industry to make money, and that is their focus. And that's okay. That's your jam. You focus on that, you do you. A lot more of the people that I meet are in it for the passion, the
Mhm.
service. I want to just help them feel good, look good, like whatever that means to them. So this is who we're speaking to right now. And
Yeah.
if you're not that person, maybe you should think a little bit about, you know, how would this weave into your game style of business? Like, could you do this? How does this look? What would that look financially for you to do? Because I think we're missing these little opportunities. I remember, like I had a VIP program in mind for clients that I developed, and it worked out well for me and the business and for my staff. And there was sometimes staff would be surprised that you so and so has one. I said, yeah. And she said, well, she does eyebrows. That's okay. But I made the discretions, and I would explain why people were offered that VIP versus maybe some others that weren't. They have to understand these were long, long, long time clients of mine. I know that they would have come to me or to us, I'll say, to the business for the service if they chose it. They refer, they did what they like. it's just that rapport that you build with your
Oh,
clients, and then you'll know, right? I think that's a huge part. But
absolutely.
yeah. But back to the brows. I mean, I know you and I can carry on about this whole thing because we agree on that side of it so much, right? But
Oh, yeah.
but as professionals, we'll say like that little extra brow waxing session, like if you add it on, but how do you make it memorable? I think is an important part because it's everything. Have you met anybody that waxing went wrong or brow shaping went wrong? I have, that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
really, really disappointed. That's a long time to grow back. I had one girl that phoned last minute, was driving by, stopped in. Oh my God, someone help me. That's uneven. So we took a brow and cosmetic brush and said, listen, just do it like this for now. And oh my God, thank you so much. What do I owe you? I said, oh no, please don't. Like, and it was sincere. I felt so bad for her. She was crying. She was upset.
Oh,
Like, it's everything to them. And I get it. And I think she had a special event coming that weekend, is why she did it.
you can't
And
hate your brows.
yeah,
Like,
you can't, right? So I remember just going through it with her, and she thought that was amazing. And then, of course, she became a client. But and that's the thing, is when you're going through it, it is there's a reason why you get trained properly
mhm.
is number one, and really appreciate why it takes so long to do brow mapping. And I think microblading and PMU can understand this side very much so, because I think you take it to a different level, because now this is semi-permanent. This is going to be a
Mm,
while before it goes away.
yeah.
So your way of thinking is different. But waxing's the same thing, because even though it's temporary, you've just impacted that person for the next 6 weeks
Oh,
and
yeah.
forever after that, right?
Yeah.
So make it a really good, memorable experience when you're offering your brow services, I think. And
I agree,
because
because it sets it apart too. That's what's gonna make you again, how do you stand apart from the competition? And maybe not the competition, but how do you just set
stand
yourself
out.
up as a unique service that you provide, you
Yeah.
know, and putting your touch onto it, however that may be, is important.
Right. And I think people like, well, I just want to specialize in,
Mhm.
and they choose one thing. That's okay to do. But, if you look financially, is this something that you could do and add in? Maybe you're looking to add something in. And I don't think people realize that not everybody wants to do microblading and permanent makeup, but they still want their brows done.
Yeah.
So, what can you offer? And what kind of training do you need? What are they going to teach you? What are the products? I mean, that's another thing. Well, let's talk about wax. I mean, there's so many waxes out there in to offer, but how do you choose your quality of wax? And don't chintz out, don't shortcut your wax, because
Mhm.
it impacts the result right after, how red they are, how much did it hurt, what's the healing process, strip waxing versus hard wax, soft versus hard, right? And I think people have to recognize, I mean, it's come a long ways from, and go back to what never would have gone away from strip waxing. I thought the other one was worse. Pick, 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 pick. Trying to
Agreed.
get it off, and then you didn't set it right and it broke in your hand. And like I'm telling you, polymer waxes have come, thank God, is all I can say.
Yeah.
It's forgiving. It doesn't adhere to your skin as much, right? So it's not like stuck on the skin, you're ripping off that
Not yeah,
skin.
it's not as painful. I mean, it's still
Yeah,
painful, but it's not as painful, and it's not
painful.
as, like I always described it like, when somebody would get a especially, like, say, for the bikini or Brazilian, it almost like, it felt like you were beating them up with the soft wax, you know? With the hard wax, I always felt like it was just that bit more gentle, a little less red. It
Mhm.
made everybody's life a lot easier.
Yeah. And I mean, and products have come a long way. The after wax, I mean, well, my son has done it. And from where I started doing waxing to where it is now, like he was even shocked. By the next day, he was still a little red from it.
Wow. Yeah.
But when I changed it to a polymer based wax and understood why this was beneficial, within half an hour, and
Yeah.
mind you, I have to add, I do use the post products, which make a huge difference.
Hmm.
But the calmness of the skin, like he's like, oh my God, I can actually go out with my girlfriend tonight, not feel like it's on fire. And I told him, he didn't believe me when we did this. This is a few years back now, but take a picture of yourself, and then I want you to send me a picture in 30 minutes. So by the time he drove home, he took a pic and he showed me, he goes, oh my God, mom, look at this. This is great. So it does
Yeah.
make a difference. If you've never used it and you're not sure, reach out to your distributor. Like ask them,
Mhm.
what's the difference with this? Do you have this? Can you show me? Teach me. I mean, you guys, if you're buying product, well, I shouldn't say if it's online, that could be different. Maybe they don't have an educator there or someone to help you with it. It's just sale. Then maybe you want to reach out to someone that does have education to help teach you
Yeah.
how to use it properly. One, that you're not wasting your product because it's a little more expensive than your traditional honey waxes and things like that, right?
Mhm.
But you're using less if you're doing it properly. So there's a lot of aspects. So do your research, reach out. Someone should be teaching you how to use their product. And I say that with everything that you purchase. There should
Absolutely.
be
Yeah.
something, education and like that mentorship. Like you feel like you can go
Mhm.
back and ask the questions numerous times over without us rolling our eyes. Oh, you again. Just kidding.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And the people whose product it is, they know. They've already like you don't have to go through the learning curve of that product or whatever it is. It's like just skip all that and get the info from the
Yeah, like I tell my story about my son. Like this is why I switched to a
Yeah.
polymer based wax. I mean, and if you look out there, there's so many more of it. Like whereas 15 years ago, there it wasn't quite the same, or the cost was like so much more that you just like, oh my God, how am I going to manage that? Right.
Right.
So I understand that, but I think, when people look at that synthetic resins that are out there, you want to really look at what's not. The whole purpose is to remove the hair, not the skin. So what's going to help me to cause less trauma to that skin, right? And then you look at the eye area, the eye lift. If you keep pulling that elasticity, you're affecting the skin. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
things to it in the future you have to look
Yeah.
at with that. But I mean, eye air is so gentle. I mean, you can lift accidentally and be a pro waxer, and it still can happen. I mean, things go wrong to anybody, but really
Absolutely.
choosing and understanding the why behind the wax is, I think, important too. So, it's called what is it called? Well, there's pulmonar base, and then there's pulmonar. So you can find those in the wax brand. If you're out there, just reach out to your distributor, ask them, do you have any of these types of waxes
Mm.
as an option, and who's there to help me with it, right? But yeah, and what else? What else did I get from that article? That was some of the things that you and I have chatted before about. But like I said, shaping the brows and art. And I think if you look at it that way, you'll
Mhm.
have a little more respect because no one creates art fast.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too that, you know, having that client that comes in, kind of you were talking about wanting to specialize in one thing and not, but that wax client, that eyebrow client, I should say, that can become a client of other things that can lend into your whatever it is you specialize in. Because
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't know why clients, in my experience, I had a lot of first time clients that came in for an eyebrow wax. And I was just like, I wouldn't see anyone for the first time for an
I
eyebrow
know.
wax personally, but
No, I think referrals were big.
yeah.
I did have first time, but they were referred by a client doing something else, saying, "Oh, go there. They know what they're doing." Like it
Yeah.
became that reputation.
Right. Yeah.
But I think, and that could be why the first time, like, oh, but they're really good in there. So
Yeah. True. Yeah.
that could be it. But no, yeah, brow for the first time ever, not having nothing done, not knowing the place, that
It's
courageous.
scary. Yeah. I mean, even like training other estheticians or doing like, you could, if you want to train on waxing legs or whatever, I was always game, but no one was allowed to touch my brows. Train on
I
somebody
hear
else.
you. Yes. Even to this day, if I'm at a waxing convention or anything like that, and they say, "Can we do your brows?" No. Well, first off, I got nothing left. So what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
But I think like all that just goes to illustrate like they are important to people. Like
Yes.
I said, you can't hide them and setting yourself apart in the brow area, in that brow service, I think is really it's a unique space to be in. And it just adds a little bit of, you know, oomph to your service and uniqueness to what you offer your clients.
Yeah, and it's such a perfect time to build that rapport, that relationship, and then you really understand. It's like, oh my God, no, I totally don't like those eyebrows. Oh, why don't you like them?
Mhm.
I think they would look good on you. Oh, because of this, and they tell you their dislikes or their story, and then
Exactly.
it leads to something else. Or but and there's things you can do too that always the two estheticians that worked for me that they had their favorite or their specialty, we'll call it. But I said, don't close off to the fact of, I mean, I'm picking on the brow wax right now because it's hard to do, right? It's an art. Like we said, you're creating a masterpiece for your client,
Mhm.
right? It's huge. And they didn't want the pressure. What if I mess up? Well, if you follow these steps and you show them what you're doing and why you're doing it to prevent that from happening, I think that's part of it. And you become more confident the more often you do it.
Yeah.
But you just don't go in saying, yeah, I got this, and boom, 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 you're done. You still need to, somehow, yes, you could look at a person and know what shape. Some people are a lot easier to do it than others, but we
Mhm.
forget that our brows are shaped differently on each side of our face. Symmetry is up or down on one side versus the others. And now you're really going to emphasize that. And that's everybody. If you don't know that, talk to a permanent makeup artist or a microblading artist, right? They're going to tell you, oh, yeah, I know that. Because
Yeah.
they just never permanently one higher than the other.
I had a saying for my clients for wax services. I would always tell them, "Your brows, they're sisters. They're not twins.
Yes,
So we're
it's
gonna
so
make them
true.
look good, but they're not gonna look."
Yeah,
But it's
yes.
true. Look at my brows. They're sisters. They're not twins. And it's just the case for for
Yeah, I've used that in the trainings, like when I've done wax trainings for people, say, no, 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 no. Or you don't recognize what happened because you're maybe, newer to the industry and you've done people who are a little easier to do, right? And you get that one person, especially as we get older, things change.
Mhm.
Or medically, things happen. Bell's palsy, for example, can affect someone's side of their face just a
Mm.
little bit. A stroke. There's
Yeah.
a lot of factors and you don't know what client you're going to have, but you can set it up for success by telling, listen, I'm going to wax, but I can tell that this is really going to show the difference in your eyebrow.
Yeah.
Right. So can you add henna? Could you add, like, how can you manipulate what your canvas is? Right.
Mhm.
And you look at it. And I think those are the special touches that we have to look at. So if you're going to do like a brow treatment per se, what are things you do? Like, can you offer an eye mask? Could you offer those silicone masks that help to soften the area? Well, do the bottom while you're doing the top. Like,
Oh, I
there's
love
so
that.
many things you could do. Like with the brows, it's endless what you can do. You just be unique, right? And
Mhm.
something cooling, like those cooling globes are cool. Could you do that to cool it down? Is it a gua sha after to just soften and cool? Like put them in cold water, right? To cool it. And now you're just softening. Then now you're adding for lymphatic, the chance of that histamine reaction to it. Maybe that's going to soothe it a little bit more and calm the area down because now you're working with lymphatic as well. And then bringing down the inflammation in the skin as well. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with that
I love
sensitive
that
skin.
idea. And you're adding to that holistic treatment too, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Finishing it
exactly.
off with that nice touch.
Yeah, and then finishing off like with, if you're doing brows, and depending what your after product is, I wouldn't necessarily put an eye cream or eye serum, but I would still do a little, little dab on the corners and help them out with it. And, you're boosting in that area, right? It's like, and on that note, like, what do you have, you know, for their home care so they can take care of their brows after and have the softness of the brow because they do tend to get a little bit thicker and sometimes out of control. And is it a brow gel, something? Do you throw
Mhm.
it like I don't know the cost of it, but do you throw it into your inclusive, all inclusive treatment that you're offering here? There's so
Yeah.
many things to do. You just have to be really, be the browista,
I
right?
like that phrasing.
The browista. I know, it's so funny. I saw that. I stole that, by the way. But
Oh,
I
I
love
thought you made it up.
no, no, I can't take credit when I said the browista. God, I love that.
That
Because
is so
you're
cool.
becoming an artist. You are creating the canvas. You're finishing this masterpiece for your client. And you're gonna, go home. They're gonna go home with it and make it memorable. And so it's all just about brows. Like
Mhm.
whoever thought you could just take it to a whole other level. And, you know, if you're not doing it, like just don't think too hard about this. Just really look at, well, is this something I could do? And
Mhm.
act on it. Do it. Like call your distributor. Find out first, do they carry what you need?
Yeah.
Will they offer assistance on? They're not going to teach you how to brow wax. Like you need to know what you're doing. You need to be certified in something. You can't just say, would be an example. I do nails and now I want to do brow waxing. Well, you need to take a course to
Mhm.
understand what you're doing for sure. But is there something that they help you with? So then you can continue with that new service or new training and figuring out how you can stand out a bit more and you're delivering that little extra special thing to your clients now. Like right now we've got to be creative and really think about what we want to do with the clients we have. And even if you're already doing it now, just change the name of it.
Mhm.
What's wrong with that? What did you call it? The all in brows? Or what's that at the beginning? You said something.
What did I say?
Oh, I can't remember the
I can't even remember. All about brows is what I said.
all about brows, I guess. And it's like that whole service brow, that unique brow
Mhm.
treatment that's all in, and explain what it is. And in their description, you should say, if you're waxing, well, this is what we use because it will be this and this for you. Like, give
Yeah.
them without a huge paragraph, right? You want to keep it simple, but really explain, I think. I think it's a huge part because our society likes to be educated. They want to know why and what you're using. Don't
Yeah, and
underestimate them.
that can be stuff you can share on your social media too, like giving a
Hey,
why I use this and, kind of building out that your platform from an education perspective too. We all do our research before doing many things, right? And you got to assume your clients would be the same. So being able to have that information somewhere where they can access is really great.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that was a lot about brows, but hopefully it becomes unique.
I'm
Um,
gonna go do my brows now.
yeah, or maybe it's going to make you think about what you're going to do. And if you're not sure, ask your client.
Yeah.
I've done that. I did my own in-house surveys all the time. Hey, I really want your opinion. You're a client here. I cherish having you as my client here. I really value your input and your information. This is about you.
Mhm.
It's not about me. I'm thinking of doing this and this. What do you think? What advice would you give me as a client? And they'll share. If you have that rapport, they'll share with you, right?
That's a really good suggestion. That's called doing a needs analysis. Is there a market for that new service
There
that you
you
want to
go.
provide?
Get
So
business side of it all, right? I love it. I love it. Yeah, just like I said, make it unique. I think in that article they mentioned that all-inclusive experience, and I shared with you during that way back. I remember being at an all-inclusive resort. My kids were really little, and I said, "What do I love about this? That it's all there. Like I don't need to leave here ever. I really don't need to do any tours. I really don't need to. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's all there." So I went, "Oh my God, that's it.
Mhm.
That's what I need to do with my spa. It's
Yeah.
all here." Even if it's in one service, right?
Agreed. And it takes away that pressure of upselling or having your client feeling uncomfortable because you might, be just genuinely saying you need this service, but if it just comes across as that upselling, it takes away a little bit of the specialness of it. But if it's all wrapped into like, you come in and we're going to take care of your brows, however that looks.
Well, in the end, they're all sales. You're upselling everything.
Yeah.
You're not really doing it. Like I think we need to take that out of the fact that if you're just focused on that side of it, then you lose that genuineness of the
Mhm.
service itself and maybe your pathway of what you're what why'd you start in the beginning? And I get it because you fall into the crunch of, oh my God, I got to pay rent. Oh my God, I got to put food on the table. I got to do this. I have to do this. My time is limited. So what are some unique things that you could do? So it's like you got to work smarter, not
Mhm.
harder, right? Like I think people forget they just fall into that work day, not even thinking,
Yeah,
and look and
exactly.
say, oh, I'm not even booked, but or I need more clients. I need to get busier. Sit back and read and research. And do you notice I didn't say social media? I think we forget there's other resources out there.
Oh,
And instead of
yes.
jumping on the trend of what's going to go out soon, so watch how much money you're putting into things. Brows aren't going away, people.
Yeah.
Brows are not going away.
You
In
know,
fact,
they're
it's
free
more so.
advertising too, because when somebody loves their brows and where they got them done, they're going to be talking about it. They're going to get
Yeah.
compliments and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, I got them at this place." Or,
Yeah.
that's
And
how you
ask
can
your
also
clients.
promote your.
You have to say, like, I did your brow training, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is so amazing. Oh my god, I'm gonna come back. Good. Oh, I'm so glad you love it. So would you please share that with others? I would love to take on more clients."
Yeah.
Even if you're busy,
Yeah.
don't ever, I'm gonna tell you, I learned myself. They think you're too busy, they won't call you.
Yeah.
So make sure they're your first phone call. And
So
then you
true.
better figure it out. You figure out what to do and how
Yeah.
to make it, right? Then the ball's back on your court to try to help
Mhm.
that. And don't ever say, "Oh my god." I mean, if I told clients what my life was like when I ran my business, they probably would never call to come in because it was busy. It was
Mhm.
crazy. I can't remember. I think I told you the hat scenario I used to do.
Yeah.
Wear my hat at home, be the mom, the wife, and then I'd pull up to the spa and go, "Okay, take the hats off. What hat am I wearing when I get in? Oh, yes, marketing. That's my first job. Get in, do my marketing. Take it off. Okay, I'm service provider now. Take it off. I'm now HR, whatever it may be, team player, extra help, backup, front desk, like you name it. Like sometimes legitimately through the day, and then you get caught up in all that
Mhm.
all the time. So just watch. Life is busy. And I know with many of you with kids, I know, I hear you completely. Just chalk it out in your daytime. Yeah, I think I'm going to investigate the brow thing that I heard on the podcast from Beauty Babble. Put it in your agenda
Mhm.
and say, I'm going to spend a solid hour just researching this.
Yeah.
Is it worth coming in? Do I visualize myself adding this service? How do I get it if I'm not trained?
Mhm.
Who can I talk to? What do I need? And jot it down. And then if you didn't get it all done in 1 hour, just hold it, schedule it in again so you can get that done. Because I tell you, time's going to go by so fast.
Mhm.
And before you know, it's like, oh, yeah, I was supposed to do that. That was like 3 months ago. I never did anything about that. So
Absolutely.
that's a huge part of it. Okay, so what would I say? Browistas, time.
Go and conquer.
That's it. Go and conquer.
Love
Browser.
it. This is a good way to
Simple.
wrap up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
Thanks, Doreen. Always lovely chatting with you. Have a great rest
Absolutely.
of your day.
You too. We'll be back next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Beauty Babble.